Where's my... Alright, I'm going to bring him down for a second. Hey, Dylan. Dylan? Dylan? Oh, that's right. Dylan's not here. Dylan's off down in Atlanta, hanging out with people who play Magic the Gathering and S&M games. He needs this about once a year. This kind of leaves me solo to talk about Synapse Gaming and the Sunburn gaming engine. They just wrapped up at Game Fest this past week, and we're also out at a Sunburn developer gathering. It would be really cool if I had some awesome notes of how that went, but I don't. So what I can tell you about is just kind of a rundown again of kind of why we're talking about the Sunburn gaming engine and Synapse.com at the top of our show. It's because we made a decision for us that we're going to build a game, not build a framework. And, you know, yes, you could figure out how to do everything that the Sunburn gaming engine is doing. It is in XNA. There is no magic to it. It is not using any proprietary APIs that you don't have access to. You could do that. However, for $150 or $250, depending on what you go at, for an Xbox Live indie game developer, you could get the Sunburn gaming engine and have built into it an excellent 3D lighting engine, which is the core of what Sunburn gaming engine is. It's where it started, and that's how it began. But through the years, they have added in audio and sound. They have added in collision detection. They have some basic physics in there coming on. They've added into 2D support. They've added scripting. They have a wonderful 3D editor, and it is definitely worth a look because for that $150 or $200, depending on whether you go with the Indie Edition or the Professional, can save you a lot of time and ask yourself, are you out to make a game or are you out just to write a framework? And many indie developers have gotten bogged down in playing with frameworks, and they never actually made their game. So it is definitely worth checking out. So go hit it up at synapsegaming.com. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the show. At the top of the show, you heard me. Dylan is out. He's down at Dragon Con, partying it up hard. Cicely's here still.
Hello.
And we have Scott from IndieCity. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
I closed the wrong note window. What's your last name, Scott? I lost it.
It's MacKintosh.
MacKintosh. There we go. Like, how did I forget that? So, real quick, I'm just going to set up here. IndieCity.com is the URL that you go, you hit. It is in development. You guys are working on it. I think you have a little beta out you call the Underground.
Yeah, we've got it open to developers to basically come on the site and have a go at uploading your game, see what your game page will look like, grab the SDK to have a look at integrating with the isolate, which basically gives you a really lightweight DRM and leaderboards and achievements, and we'll be fleshing out that functionality over time and as sort of developers demand it. I mean, the good thing about the way we've done the beta is we're taking a lot of feedback from developers, so the site is really being shaped by developers, so people are coming back with comments, and we're taking that on board and adding it to the to the feature list. And if there's anything that people really disagree with, we've changed it. Things like screenshot size is quite a minor thing for us to for us to change, but a lot of people disagreed with that, so we managed to change that fairly quickly with people's feedback. So yeah, it was pretty good.
All right, so backing it up a little bit, the site is kind of like a Steam for indie games, really. But you, as you said, you're taking a lot of the developer feedback and building it right now. And so if you go to the site, IndieCity.com, it looks kind of bare because you're not open to the public. But if you're a developer with a game, there's a link, and you will get in touch with Scott and the team there. And it is a team. I think there's 7 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
7 at the moment. We've got a couple of back-end web guys, a couple of run LPC, we've got a business, we've got our people guys, he does the wrappers.
All right, I think some of that came out. And again, I apologize to the listeners for the call quality. Just, Skype, you do what Skype gives you some nights.
Some nights it likes to go across the pond, some nights it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not a thing that you're over there in the UK. We've had calls go to the UK, but could very well be on our end. So initially, you're going to launch the site, and this is kind of in your blog that I'm looking at right now. And just kind of be an e-commerce destination. But that is not the long-term plan, is it? That is not just go here and buy the game. You're looking at something a little bit bigger.
No, I mean, we really want to be sort of, the indie community that people go to for games. We want to make it a big sort of developer community as well. We want to provide sort of facilities for developers so they can come, and share their experience with other developers. They can share their code. They can, we want to sort of really promote indie development. So we want to get sort of new developers on board. So we want to provide sort of guides to them. I mean, if you have a look at our forum at the moment, some of our community members have already started writing sort of basic code guides for integration. So people that are quite new to it, there's step-by-step guides, and Johan Bindal there actually built an X-making for integration.
Uh-oh. Chop it up a little bit on there. Just a little bit on the end. But, so you mentioned leaderboards and achievements. So you're giving out an SDK for the developers out there. Like, what is the SDK? Is it like a REST service that you're hitting, or is it DLL that you're adding to the project?
Yeah, at the moment it's basically just a C++ DLL that has a variety of functions. It's got a lightweight DRM that basically you log into the server and it checks you own the game, and also the leaderboard and achievement functionality, and that's it at the moment. But there's also plans for, well, really depends what the community wants. We've got scope to do things like multiplayer sort of things, in-game chat. There's even been mention of things like sort of cloud saves.
Okay, so with the DRM, is that something that's going to be part of all the games, or is that going to be like a per developer if they choose not to mess with it?
No, it's entirely optional. I mean, we know some developers really don't like DRM, so it's entirely up to them whether they want to use the DRM. But at the moment, I mean, to make it easy for us in development, if you're integrating with our SDK, the DRM is part of it. But long term, we're planning on splitting it out. So if they want to use their own DRM, they can. That's fine. If they don't want to use it at all, again, that's fine.
So on the breakdown that you have for the revenue share, you're actually doing a generous compared to what most of the app stores have charged. I don't know exactly what Steam does because they're a private service, but most of the ones that have published are doing a 30% cut. I've read here that you're looking at a 25%, but you'll drop that down to 15% if you implement the achievements and leaderboards in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you integrate with our libraries, we will, we really feel strongly that integrating with these will sort of have a better retention rate for gamers. I've just seen with things like Steam, and on Xbox, people, really get into achievements and they quite like, gathering. There's people that really go out there and complete, quite completionist about this. So I really feel that it really adds a bonus for our service as well.
I laugh because I just finished the last of the achievements in Assassin's Creed 1.
See, there we go.
Yeah, we got a couple achievement whores in attendance here.
It's a really good thing to have. So, we really feel like, if you integrate and you're driving more traffic to the site and you're getting more people to come back, you should be rewarded for that. And obviously, because you're driving more people to come back to the site, we can afford to give you a better cut. I mean, Chris, our business guy, is probably the best person to speak to about it. So if you've got any sort of real in-depth questions about it, he's the man to answer. But he's run all the numbers repeatedly, and we can work on the margins because we're such a small agile team.
Yeah, and one good thing about the incentive on the developer end, I mean, you talk about like the advantage of achievements for the players, to come back, and of course they come back, you buy more, but it gives a developer a reason to implement the achievements for IndieCity.com, and you're not going to be requiring any kind of exclusive agreements. You've got that kind of nice out. So they may have their game on a couple services, and they may say, well, I just want to get my game out to all these services, and I'm just going to throw it out there and not worry. But if if the developer's reading and paying attention, that's not an insignificant amount of revenue that says like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and spend the time to add the achievements in there because the revenue sharing is better, versus if it was flat, they might not like to do that. So I think that's a pretty good idea. I hadn't seen anything like that anywhere else where, if you implement our back end and you support our stuff, we're going to reward the developers for that. Now, you said, well, you didn't say, on the blog it says that you'll have demos. So you kind of have an idea of how the demo system's going to work?
Oh, good question. It's something that's still being implemented, but developers will be free to have a demo whichever way they want. But one thing that a lot of gamers really seem to ask, and something that's been really popular on the Xbox Live Arcade, is being able to get trial versions so people can get a quick shot at the game. But yeah, like I said, it's up to the developer how they want to implement it, whether it's, they want to have a time limit version, where they want to have like a single level, but I mean, this whole system's still being developed, the demo side of things, so, this could all change, if people really decide we're doing it cack-handedly, but...
Okay, yeah.
I think the choice is fine. If it's what I consider a real game, a time limit is probably all you need.
Yeah, because Xbox 8 minutes, isn't there? Something very similar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that seems to work out, but, we, Chris and the rest of the team feel quite strongly that, the demos are a really positive thing for people to have, and the demo system also be tied into our download client, so if you really, if you opt in, you can be pushed demos, so on your download client you can, overnight the recommendation engine will push out demos of games that it thinks you'd like, and you have the option of sitting there and downloading them, or you can even let it automatically download and install them if you really want. But that's going to be an opt-in process as well.
So how it says that you have some code libraries to help port your XNA game. Are you taking care of the XNA setup and install on the gamer's PC, so the developer doesn't have to worry about that, or is it going to be a simple way for the developer to do a check and install, or how's that? What's the plan there?
Yeah, basically, that should all be handled on our side. Basically, when you get to the game upload page, you basically say, you can say what it requires. So if it's 3.1 and whatever version of .NET, or if it's 4 and whatever other version of .NET, and it will wrap it all for you. So it will install all the extra distributables that you need alongside the game.
Okay, very cool, very cool. I mean, I know that on a lot of services, it's up to the gamer, up to the developer to do, and sometimes that stuff is tricky. If you've not done it before, it can be a little tricky, and it's not the easiest thing to test.
No, and I mean that's one thing we really wanted to do, to make it easy, and because there's so many different types of distributable to add on. If it's not just XNA stuff, a lot of the other ones require various different add-ons and frameworks and Christ knows what.
Yeah,
so it's easier for them just to give us the game file. It gives the exe for running and like a zip of the data structure, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, one of the I don't know what this would require to set up, but one of the developer evangelists that are in my area from Microsoft has been talking to me. He's an Azure guy, but they just dropped a Azure game toolkit for doing a whole bunch of stuff with your game in the cloud. And I don't know what that setup would require, but that would probably be something different from the norm.
Yeah.
If you were going that way. So the editorial content. This is kind of a blank one. It just says it will have editorial, but not created by us. Is this more of like an Amazon review system, or are you thinking a little bit different or bigger?
Yeah, well, there's going to be sort of Amazon-style reviews, but we also are going to implement or build, we haven't really kind of crossed that bridge yet, but we're going to have some sort of blogging system on the site, so up-and-coming journalists can, they can write their own stuff, or, people can pipe in blog feeds, from big sites if they want to, because obviously we don't want to be sitting there, and sort of reviewing games and saying, these games are on our site, these ones are, good, these ones aren't. It's not something we want to do, but we want to enable the community to, to be able to come along and, have their own voice. So, you could get people coming along that are sort of relatively unknown, but get quite a good following. They start writing a few things, they get, people picking up on them. So, we want to have sort of the whole community, orientated news, reviews, all that, sort of opinion pieces as well.
All right, cool. That sounds like it'd be pretty good. Because then, that kind of make more of a destination. Like people aren't coming just to buy. They're coming to find out what to get. And
yeah, and if you've got an account on site, you're going to be able to follow certain people that if you enjoy their writing. So everybody's going to have their own customizable homepage. It's going to have sort of activity feeds. Of what people you're following are doing. You're going to be able to have sort of a little. You'll be able to follow blog posts and blogs of people you like. So you're not going to be sat there being fed, like you are on a normal game site. You have to look through all this content. You'll be able to really pick and choose and delve down into the stuff you really want.
So on here you mentioned that you will include free games, most likely hosted externally. So what's the thinking there?
Old and out of date. Sorry. This is something for me to take note to edit on Monday. Yes, free games. We got over this with the addition of our download client. Basically, the big sticking point for us was bandwidth.
Right.
Obviously, free games really kicked off. They're obviously going to be quite popular because they're free, and the bandwidth cost would sink us quite quickly. So what the download client enabled us to do was to add a sort of peer-to-peer element. So if you opt in, you can share the game, so you can upload the game to other users and things like that. And that got us over that hurdle. Free games will be accepted and will be hosted on IndieCity, just like every other game.
Okay, so it will kind of all be there then. You've kind of worked that out with
peer-to-peer. Yeah, everything will be there. We'll accept all the free games and commercial games, and yeah, it was one of the big sticking points when we first designed the site, was how do we get around the problem of free games? Because obviously it is a large part of the the indie scene. There's a lot of game jam games. You get the global game jam building there. We want to include all these if people wanted to put them on the site. So it was a real sticking point until somebody in our community suggested, why don't you look at peer-to-peer? And we had a thought, a brainstorm session, and we thought, well, why not? If we make it opt-in, even a few users will take a massive amount of pressure off our servers and our hosting costs.
Yes. That can work really well with that. And then, the free games bring a lot of foot traffic. Hopefully they convert. They play some free games and they convert and they buy some games. Have you thought or looked at any kind of advertising network or share for the free games?
We had thought about it, but we don't really want to put advertising on the site. A lot of people find it, they don't really like having ads around the site. They might have a look at some sort of revenue sharing scheme around the free games, but at the moment it's not something we're really thinking about doing. Obviously we'd like to, because they will be finding us a lot of traffic, but we haven't sort of got a really good way of doing so.
Yeah, okay. It definitely could be a careful thing to watch there. You don't want to wind up in a situation where everybody's coming in and playing the free games, even if you're sharing the bandwidth. That's going to do that. You got to get them monetized somehow.
We're hoping if, when they're playing free games, the recommendation engine will pick up on, the games they're playing and recommend them some, other games, and, they'll go off and buy, other titles and things like that, because, most of the indie titles are quite affordable compared to, your AAA titles, and, they offer a massive swathe of different types of games, so we think the conversion rate, will be fairly decent, but it's something that's really test out. We can be reticent about it, but until we actually see it in practice, it's all just sort of theory at the moment. But it's something we are thinking about. But a lot of the things in these are going to be reactionary. We're going to have to wait and see what happens, and then alter from there.
So, with the pricing of the games, has there been any discussions, or it's just wide open, priced at anything, or do you say, like, we're going to have a range, here's the high, here's the low, price somewhere in between this?
No, developers will be free to set their own prices. We didn't really feel it was very indie for us to sit there and dictate what a developer should be charging for their game.
Well, I know some Xbox Live indie services choose to dictate what a developer should charge for a game, so that's kind of why I was asking.
I just asked that you make a category called applications.
Well, I think if I read this right, it's open for all indie games so long as it's considered an indie game, correct?
Yes.
So what is, obviously maybe you've had this discussion before, what is going to be your guiding principles on accepting something as an indie game?
Oh, I was hoping this would come up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Actually, if you look back on the blog, back when we started, we actually did a community survey of what people considered indie, and it came across quite varied. Some people considered, a lot of different quite weird titles to be indie, and some not, and things like Half-Life to be. Some people was sort of in the middle. But I mean, our main thing is we don't want big titles. We don't want your Bad Companies and your Bullet the Storms and things like that. It's quite a difficult one for us. Us to define. There's quite a huge range. Everybody's own opinion on it. So I mean, at the moment we're going on. Does it look like it's been made by a huge studio? And if it has, then it's probably not very easy.
So I guess why I was asking, I guess the point that I was asking for it wasn't so much I was worried about you being dominated by the too big, and it's a dicey term to define because indie is kind of short for independent, right? And the Team Meat are independent, but I have problems calling them indie at this point. Jonathan Blow is independent.
Yeah, Notch in Minecraft is another huge example. Loads of people now don't consider him indie because he's sitting on 30-odd million.
But at the same time, he is independent. So, I mean, I even have the conflict of, like, well, if there's a size component, I can't put it on there. But I really wasn't asking for the too large. Like, I don't know that you're going to have to worry about telling Jonathan Blow and Marcus, no, you can't put on my service. I don't know that you're going to have that problem. It's the other end of the spectrum. It's okay, that's not an indie game, dude. That's just a stupid internet meme. How do you define the bottom of the...
I guess that's something that we haven't actually really discussed that much. We've always talked about this sort of, being dominated from above rather than letting the little guys in. The thing with the approval process is it's going to be a community-driven thing, so it's going to be people saying, is this indie or is it not, and it's going to be sort of the majority vote. So that should hopefully sway it. And I wouldn't imagine any people will sit there and go, this is indie or not, over some sort of meme game. But we've seen it with X-League and how things have gone with the peer review system there. It can be quite an interesting measure.
So, obviously, I don't know if you've looked down much of the titles on Xbox Live Indie Game, but the service is definitely plagued with a lot of sometimes it's not even a game, which I think you can
It's
come up with some better
screensaver, voice changer,
screensavers and all that. I think you can rule out. Some of the things are just horrible. Like there's no. It's not like, oh, these graphics are bad intentionally. It's like it hardly works, and I think that could be.
There's a lot of weird stuff on there, like weird massage apps and things.
Yeah, it's that end of stuff that I'm kind of curious about how that goes, because you want to be open and you want to allow, because you never know when something that's stupid takes off. It's like I could look at it. If you came to me and said, hey, I got this idea for a site where people are going to text message in 140 characters at a time, I'd laugh at you. I'd say, get the hell out of here. That's ridiculous. I could go set up a blog for free. Why would I choose to limit myself to 140 characters? And then I would miss out on billions of dollars of Twitter. So, you don't want to, like, limit, because there's some things you're just not going to be able to catch. But at the same time, the Xbox Live Indie Game Service, right now our top 3 downloads are straight up Minecraft clones. They're not even varied. They're just straight clones. And that's not good. I don't think that's healthy for the service as a whole, because when somebody takes a look at it, like they actually come in and they take a look, if that's their first impression, they leave with thinking like, oh, this is just, a bunch of idiots trying to make clones and make a quick buck. This isn't the cool hip scene.
The thing with IndieCity is, like I mentioned, is the customized home pages. So everybody, basically when you sign up to the site, you will get a sort of recommendation engine primer. So you pick some games, do you like this game, not like this game, have you played it, blah, blah, blah. And, based on that, it will give you an initial recommendation of, would you like to play these games? And through that, it'll build up a better picture. So nobody's going to be sitting in a sort of best-selling list.
So that's good, and I think we've mentioned this on our podcast several times before, that the combat to this is giving the users the power to downvote the junk and upvote the gems, and then the marketplace will regulate itself. As you were saying, coming in and having a little primer of like, do you like this game, or what are your favorite, AAA titles, so we can kind of profile you. There was a music service the name is escaping me. But the artist would go in and say, it was just an indie artist site, and the artist would go in and put down themselves, this, if you like Eric Clapton and, 70s rock, you should look at my stuff. And maybe having the developers say, okay, if you like Geometry Wars, look at my stuff. Now that could be a touchy subject, because I know when you start bringing up the C word, when you start getting close to the word clone, some developers fly off the handle. But in terms of describing your game, I think it can be really helpful to people, when they're just browsing.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got in place at the moment is sort of a tag system. So a developer can come in and tag their game with sort of set genre things, like stuff like what genre it is, and things like, is it BB, is it BB, is it first, is it third, stuff like that. So you'd be able to drill down fairly well to what kind of games our section stuff, and based on people's recommendations, they can drill down quite closely to that. I mean, that's something that's going to take quite a bit of work, and the recommendation engine is going to be a hugely important thing that's going to take a lot of tweaking, a lot of testing on our part to get it completely right. So it's but we think that the tagging system should work quite similar to, if you like Geometry Wars, then you should like my game, because if you like, first-person shooters are in such and such a era, then check out this game.
So I see on your site that you guys, on the blog, I've seen that you guys have been doing workshops. I'm going to give you a softball after that hard one now. I've seen you've had like a marketing workshop, and what have been some of the others?
Yeah, well, they've actually all been marketing workshops today. We even did one out in San Francisco at E3. DJ was out there at the conference, so we decided to run one. Unfortunately, we decided to run it in a bar, which kind of didn't work out too well in the long run. Loads of indie developers on the first day of E3 getting indie developers together to speak about, the problems with, marketing their games. Because obviously, developers hugely talented at what they do, but marketing seems to be a big question mark for a lot of them. So we've had the last one we did it in Brighton, we had a couple of lawyers from Sheridan's in London, had some marketing bods come along out of interest really, and they were sharing their experiences, and the developers came up with sort of questions they were answered, and they all discussed around topics. In fact, I think Chris is actually sorting out the documents and that. So what we do is it all gets written up into a Google Doc, and then we publish it on the website, so everybody can get the knowledge from these things rather than just whoever attends. We want everybody to to be able to come back and look and see, they've been talking about where's the best place to to advertise my iPhone games and things like that. That's some of the topics we've had come up.
Yeah, and I think that these are wonderful. I mean, this is a good thing to have to bring together. You're definitely right on the marketing thing. I mean, that's something I've soapboxed sometimes from on GameMarx, but there's not been too many indie developers try to actually engineer a marketing campaign or a launch even around their game. It's usually burn the candle, both ends, up all night, get the game done, and then as soon as the game is done, there might be a short QA period. Many of them need longer QA periods, I can say that. And then they get it out there, and then they start contacting the review sites. Hey, my game is out here, will you cover it? The problem is, when we were doing reviews, we've gotten busy, and we kind of scaled back on the reviews because we liked giving, a review takes a lot of time.
And we like to actually play through the game, or at least complete a significant portion of it.
Yeah, we pretty much tried to complete every game and other projects, and so we dialed that down. But, when we were reviewing it, it takes a tremendous amount of time. So by the time that a game came out, and let's say like the day of release, we got the review code or the review token, or we just decided, because they're so cheap, we'll buy the game if we want to play it. And then we go through and we play the whole game, and then you want to sit on it for a little bit, and then, let it kind of percolate, and then come back and check it again, and then figure out, like, okay, what's the rating I'm going to give this? And then usually we would discuss on the podcast or have conversations of, like, I'm thinking of giving this, game a buy rating, but I want somebody to look at this, and is this a bigger deal than I'm making it, or, whatever. And by the time we'd gone through all that, it's a week and a half out now that the game's been out. And
we're off the new releases.
We're the indie site, right? So we're sticking it up. My vision of kind of when we were getting GameMarx going is that I don't expect a lot of traffic on GameMarx, but if I can get some indie writers at Kotaku or ours or those guys putting us in their feed and then using us as kind of a filter of like, hey, there's, what do we get, like 20, 25 games a week on Xbox Live Indie Games? If they could follow GameMarx and like, okay, of the 25 that hit, these are the 5 worth looking, and then that would cue them into go looking, and we could get some more coverage for the service as a whole. That's kind of what we're out here. But the issue is, like, the main sites want to cover games when they're new, and by the time all this process has happened in the game world, 2 weeks have gone by, we're on a whole new release cycle.
Yeah, and the big problem is when they send them out on launch day. A lot of these guys, I've worked with the guys from Rock Paper Shotgun. I worked at Eurogamer before I came to IndieCity, and seeing some of the writers' mailboxes, they were sitting, a good few hundred emails deep, on a daily basis. So if you send something out in day of release and hope to get coverage anytime soon, you're pretty much out of luck. These guys get so many emails, and it's not just indie developers, it's, all the big games as well. And this is one of the things we actually covered. We did a panel at GDC Europe with Mike Rose from IndieGames.com, Keith Stewart from The Guardian, Christian Nutt from Gamma Sutra, and, oh my god, the last guy escapes me. That's terrible. I'll have to look that up and quote his name. That's pretty terrible. But we did a panel out there called Indie's Got PR Talent, and it was basically like how to do a press release, so the press, pick up on it quickly, and sort of what sort of things the press are looking for, to pick up on these things, and what sort of things, what should you have in your screenshots, what should you have in videos, should you give them a demo, all this sort of things, to try and get them picked up more, because there's so many people out there developing indie games. The writers are looking at their mailboxes and just sort of arbitrarily going, well, that, he's missed out this stuff, delete that, there's no content in that, and delete that. And it's mainly because the developers just, they're so passionate about making a game, but, the marketing side just escapes a lot of them. They just think, they see the passion side of, themselves and go, oh, I made this amazing game. These guys will see, how passionate I've been and, how awesome my game is. But a lot of the times the press releases are pretty bad.
Very much so.
And it's a little of what I've called before I've called it the hot girl syndrome. If there's a really hot girl out that you want to get to, you have to realize how often she's hit on a day. And if you're subtle about it, she doesn't even notice that. You have to pierce through all of that to get in there. That's the same thing with these game developers. You've got to pierce through this 200, 300 inbox, and so when you're sending that email or you're putting that press release together, make sure, it has everything that all the questions are answered, that someone's going to have on the game, and it represents you well, but also, think of a way to break out the pack. And it doesn't always work. You have to keep trying at it, and you have to do it multiple times to break through. I remember Robert Boyd, who did Cthulhu Saves the World. He also did Breath of Death before that. And he had Nintendo cartridges made with his game on it. Right? And he put that in a box that looked like a Nintendo game. And in the cartridge was the code to go download it on Xbox.
That's awesome.
He sent it out, but none of the major sites actually covered Breath of Death. But I think...
all of them mentioned it in the podcast.
Well, somebody mentioned it. They got this thing. They didn't even mention the name of the game. They mentioned the swag.
Brian McElroy mentioned it. I know Joystick mentioned it. They didn't cover it.
Right. No, they didn't cover it, but I think the thing is you got to keep at it, because I think when Cthulhu Saves the World was doing really well, like, wait a minute, this is the guy that sent us this other thing.
And they didn't.
They give more attention to him because, they kind of have a
memory. They have a memory. Whether it fails or it works, they have a memory.
There's also sites out there, since you were a writer at Eurogamer, I don't know if you used it or not, but like Games Press, did you use any of those?
I wasn't a writer, I did community and stuff, but yeah, Games Press is heavily used, mainly on sort of quieter news days, or just trying to dig out some sort of, see what's going on. But yeah, for our panel, we actually trawled Games Press for press releases.
Yeah, so gamespress.com, I'll actually put a link in the show notes. If you're not using this, I mean, you need to be, because it's just a central feed of all press releases. Now, it's AAA down to, indies. And, I mean, they let me in, so there's not a high bar to get in, but it's not open to the public. The public can't go in there and get a feed of press releases. Just the game reviewers can.
Yeah, only if you've got sort of an industry address you get approved, yeah.
Which, I mean, if you have, you should have a domain for your game studio. I can't tell you the number of times where I've tried to look up a studio and I can't find any information on, that studio, because they don't even have a website. But, shouldn't be calling from the bottom of a well. We'll get them out. We'll get them out of the well. We'll send in Mad Ninja with the dubstep guns and dubstep rope.
But Mad said he doesn't get any better connection either, so he can't come
He lies.
out of the well.
We had him on the show. He was getting his connection from his mom, and his mom gives great connection, apparently.
There is a your mom joke there.
Oh yeah, Mad loves your mom jokes.
To go down that route there.
Mad loves your mom jokes. Just everybody send Mad Ninjas your mom. He'll appreciate that.
I am buzzing.
So yeah, that's pretty good. So you're doing these every month or so?
Whenever we get a chance, really. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 of them now, so they've been, every, 2-3 months. We're hoping to do another one soon in London, but we're also trying to sort of do other events and stuff as well. I'm hoping to go to the Eurogamer Expo in London. We're sponsoring something in London called Wild Rumpus, which is sort of an indie evening. They get together in a sort of pub and they've got some indie games, and they've got some devs and DJs going to go down there and have a chat to folk. And I've been out to a couple of events. We've done GDC, we've done GDC and E3. I was at South by Southwest in Austin, where I met Brandon from IndieCade. So we're really trying to get out there and meet people, because I mean it's one thing being a big website, but we really want to get back to the indie community. We want to meet folk, and it's a lot nicer to meet people in person and have a chat. And we just plus it gets us out of the office. It's good fun.
So how long were you at Eurogamer?
I was at Eurogamer from I think it was 2007 till November last year.
Oh wow, good stretch there. So you got any...
it was good. Great place to work. They're an absolutely fantastic bunch of people. The guys at Eurogamer, and they've grown so much over the years. And I mean their expo now is absolutely massive.
Yes, and I mean Eurogamer has always been a great site for indie games as well. They've been in that area. I was going to ask, so I mean we've been doing GameMarx a little over a year now, and there was a side of this when we got into this. Now we got into this for a different reason. We weren't trying to build, like, hey, we want to be game reviewers. We were looking around at the same problem most indie games have, which is publicity. And we were like, all right, we want to promote the service. We want to promote Xbox Live Indie Games as a service and try to raise the awareness of that. And then, everybody will benefit. And then our next games will be better because we got more traffic to the service. We didn't realize how impossible of a dream that was when we started, but we did it anyway. But there was a side we weren't ready for, which is the hostile, angry developer emails that you can sometimes get, even on a good review. You can give 5 stars or a perfect rating to a game and make one small, minor little thing and get a 3-page email back of just, everything on you. So, do you got any really good Eurogamer angry developers? You don't have to name names, but just any good stories?
It's not even so much the developers for us, it's the games fans that really, really kicked off. I mean, I did advertising and community management at Eurogamer, so I was more privy to comments and forum threads. But I think the best one we had was when we reviewed Darkfall, and I think initially it got 2 out of 10. And somebody actually dedicated a YouTube video to us where every single clan in Darkfall declared war on Eurogamer.net. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, if you get a chance, go to YouTube and look up Darkfall and Eurogamer. I'll find the link and post that. It's incredible.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so, okay, we don't actually have fans, I think, on GameMarx. We just have developers, so we don't know what that's like yet, to angry fans.
But I suppose it's a lot like going to an SEC game.
He's not going to get that at all. He's in the UK.
I'm sorry. Who are some major football players?
All you know is Manchester United. Just go ahead and...
Man U and Arsenal and...
And you'll...
I like watching the games where somebody's going to get relegated. That's it.
And speaking of angry developer emails, she got called out on Manchester United
because I forgot that it's not a 3/4, because 90 minutes to me equals 3, not 2. But aside from that...
Because our footballers are more hardcore, 45 minutes aside, so we need one break.
Yeah, one break. Yeah, I've seen them, and I only watched maybe the last bit of regulation and then any overage that it is on games where somebody's going to be regulated out of the league. Those are the ones that are interesting to me.
To be honest, I rarely bother watching football. I'd actually rather watch hockey. Much more fun.
Do you have UK hockey? Does that exist, or is that watching?
Yeah. There's a league. There's only about 6 teams in it, but there's a UK league.
Wow.
I mean, okay, all right, hold on. I'm being American for a second.
Well, the team I go and see in Nottingham, their logo looks like Gozy.
Okay, all right.
Which is mainly why I support them.
I was being ignorant American for a second and not counting Canada as United Kingdom. So I was just UK is London, UK is England. So there's okay.
Interesting.
I don't know. I kind of want to see that.
You
now.
learn something I want to see this game.
I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna be on the internet. I'm gonna be googling for British hockey teams and see that. I just have to see that. All right. So we delved into sports. So I think we got through everything. But is there anything else you want to mention on IndieCity.com before I take it to our new releases of the week?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if anybody's got any other questions, feel free to jump in. We've got an RC channel on Freenode, which is just #IndieCity. There's a forum. You can email me, pid@indiecity.com. I mean, we're more than happy to chat. I mean, I spend most of my day sat on RC just chatting away to people, for questions and stuff like that. But I mean, if you've got a game on XBLIG or thinking of making one, then give IndieCity a look. I mean, for 75%, if you don't even want to put in our leaderboards and achievements, or for 85%, if you've already put them in for XBLIG, I imagine some of them have achievements and such and leaderboards. 75% of 85%. Why not?
Yeah. Chat's pointing out that hockey in England isn't on ice.
Oh, the one I watched is. I don't watch boring.
It's on ice. They're being facetious.
Oh, they're being facetious. All right.
It's on grass.
I want them all to know that my grandmother is British, 100%. So I'm allowed to make any kind of slurs and jokes because
she is from England.
Yeah. She makes a shepherd's pie that is just amazing and
immaculate. I mean, like the layers touch, but they don't merge.
But I mean, it holds its shape too. Like any shepherd's pie I've gotten in any restaurant, like it just like falls all apart all over the plate, and this thing like stays.
It's a pie.
It's like the Minecraft of shepherd's pie. Like it's just in blocks, and I don't know. Maybe that might even not count as like that might be like horrible shepherd's pie over in England, and maybe these restaurants are closer, but. I don't know. It's grandma's shepherd's pie, and you can't compare.
And MacKintosh, I am now cheering for the Blaze because they're a dragon.
Oh man, what a Blaze!
I like dragons. Besides, the Panthers are another rival team in one of the American football teams that I play that I cheer for, and so I can't cheer for the Panthers. I'm sorry.
That's a problem with American sports. We don't have enough mythical creatures as mascots. We mostly have racial slurs as mascots. Fighting Irish and Indians.
Steelers, Redskins.
Redskins and
Cowboys.
Well, there's nothing makes sport without a bit of casual racism.
Go Braves!
Yep, Atlanta Braves. All right. Now it's time for our new releases of the week. Oh, gee. Now the calendar flipped over. So these new releases are from sometime in August to Thursday the 1st. Friday to Thursday. Unfortunately, this week does not contain the game that I was really looking forward to covering.
Lloyd McCurry.
Yeah, well, you just gave it away. Thanks. So much for building suspense.
Shut it.
It's Moe McCurry 2. It's the sequel.
I am buzzing. I don't care.
It's boobs and double vision. But our first game up this week
double Ds?
are Asphalt Jungle 2. No, they're not double Ds. They're way under 80. There's no 12 double D-year-old girls.
You weren't looking at me at all.
So, Asphalt Jungle 2 This is
interesting.
It's a little tile flip game that you have a car going down the road and you try to make sure the road stays connected and see how far the car can go. It's kind of interesting. The graphics are really crude and rough, and it doesn't actually... I don't know. When actually
it's not fun.
It's not fun. It's an interesting idea.
But it's not fun.
But it didn't hit a nice polished level for fun.
Especially since you can just keep adding up points until you decide to end the level.
Well, no. I thought you...
No.
I ended when I had achieved a certain number of points. Like, there was a goal for the level.
There was a goal for the level. I doubled my points, and then I went on. And it made it much easier to get through the next level.
So, next one that we have is That Really Hot Chick. And
it's not about a hot chick. It's about a chick that does not want to be cooked.
It's a little bird, and I got a new term for this. I think I got this off of Stegs. The term is infinite runner. So we can stop calling them impossible game clones or forced scrollers. Infinite runner seems to describe a little bit more that
type of game. This one actually has a goal you can see at the top of it, but it is an infinite runner.
It is an infinite runner, and it's got a little bit too loose of controls. It's got a gimmick. It's a cute gimmick. It's worth a look, but
the soundtrack is nice. My daughter liked it. She actually shut up and just watched the screen for every time the song came on.
The thing is, there's been so many of these games released. I just can't play them right now. You know, it's just come up with something new. We beat this meme into the ground. No more forced scrollers, please. Just a moratorium. No more forced scrollers. I think we have 2 more to release this week, but just stop. Next one is Rocks in Space. This must have been so great. I forgot. I gotta go look at the screenshots.
No, that's the one where there's a spaceship and you have to collect the pill-sized things and avoid the asteroids. And when you boost, it doesn't look like you're boosting.
Yes, you do boost, but it takes a really long time. You got to hold that down to really see the effect of the boost. It took me a little bit to realize that I was actually boosting.
There's no feedback on it.
You fly around, avoid asteroids, and collect little floating pills. Seems to be the game. I'm going to be honest. I played it for about 2 minutes and then went on to the next one.
Yeah, and Stags, I don't care if it's supposed to be space. To me, it was just space.
Next one up is Ninja Sneaking. This is out of Japan, and the developer's name is Winglay. And I'm sorry, but South Park just makes me think of Wing, the horrible Japanese girl doing the singing. Wing is real. You can Google that. You can get Wing CDs. That's real. They didn't make her up. That was not an invention. But the game is pretty cute, pretty neat and cute.
Cute ideas. You don't really need to know English. You just need to know what it shows you on the screen.
It starts out, and you'll see this in the video. We did do video on this one. And it starts out as kind of a 2D Metal Gear Solid avoid the detection. So that's kind of neat. Then, in the later level that we got to, it became a platformer.
Right, a platformer, and then still some slight platformer / don't get caught. It just needed the little but it didn't have that. But you weren't really missing it. You were still in suspense, and I still got quiet, trying to sneak past the person mentally without making any noise.
Our next game up is Guarding. And I don't know this for certain, but I had the feeling this was an RPG Maker game. I do need to kind of apologize on Doom and Destiny. So I didn't, from last week, for these RPG Maker games, I really wasn't quite into exactly what RPG Maker was and what it allows to do.
But he used it last week. This one kind of doesn't know how to use it, and I wish they didn't. Well,
I don't think going back. I don't think Doom and Destiny did much with it either. I mean, knowing now what RPG Maker provides, you should put on an RPG Maker game, we should almost look at it and like expect a lot more of the writing and the character. I was willing to give a slide on horrible writing and bad dialogue and awful, spelling mistakes and everything like that, because I thought, like, well, you look at this, they made a JRPG
were on purpose.
They made a JRPG. Oh, I hope not. Then it just makes it worse. If they knew better and didn't fix it, that makes it even worse.
Part of it looked like leet.
But it's like, yeah, just go in here and write your horrible script and drop it in, and you got an RPG. I'm going to have to, like, weigh that. And I don't know if we're going to see a mass influx of RPG makers, but...
we are. As soon as they made it open for people to make games with it was like, oh, I can make my own Final Fantasy, and they'll do it.
Yeah, but if... I think the RPG Maker still takes more effort than some of the screensavers and such, and they're not going to get the money out of them. They're going to be passed on pretty quick because people are not going to read the writing, and if you don't read the writing, you don't get the RPG story, and there's better ones on there. I don't think they'll do well, and that may just keep it at a minimum, and they may not actually be that bad because it's going to take more effort than your average... I can't even say Silver Dollar game anymore, because Silver Dollar games are putting in more effort than some of these others that are coming in.
They're intentionally bad.
Next we have Beach Bubbles 2. So, you can't play Momokuri 2, or well, you can, it's out, but we can't review it this week because it's next week's game. But, and Beach Bubbles 2 has the same thing in the first Beach Bubble of... letting you see absolutely nothing before they just pop up and say, hey, it's a trial. So if you want to actually unlock this portrait of questionable age girl in bikini...
she's legal in Japan!
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think this is a developer out of Japan. I think Beach Bubbles... maybe I'm wrong on that one. Maybe Beach Bubbles out of Japan as well. They're Team Shuriken, but their language is in Japan. I thought one of them was out of the U.S. that was doing it, but they could be... that would make it at least authentic. If the U.S. does that, then that's just sexist and bad and almost a pedophile. But, if Japan does it, well, that's just what Japan does. No, Stegs is saying, no, it's not from Japan. Yeah, I didn't think this one is from Japan. I thought this was we're going to look like we're from Japan.
They did look convincingly like Japan.
But it doesn't even have a good gameplay. Gameplay is stupid in Beach Ball. It's just move a character around and pop all the bubbles. So
you just have to avoid
there's
that
no
one killer
foreplay.
Piece.
It has no foreplay.
You have to avoid the one killer piece.
Our next one up is All the Bad Parts. We did some video on this, and it's under action and adventure.
It is an adventure, but it's not very actiony.
It's kind of in between. It's not really an adventure game, and it doesn't have a lot of action that we saw in the trial.
It looks like it wants to be, what's its name? Monkey Island, but it's not quite there.
Right, that's what I mean. It doesn't quite have enough adventure game stuff going on to say, like, hey, I'm a Monkey Island, and it doesn't have enough combat to go on there. But we did video of it. It's interesting. It's got a good 2D locked camera on a 3D world. They did that well. It's got good animation. The writing is okay. I mean, it's acceptable. Decent. It's not too bad. I blow through it in the trial just because we want to show as much of the trial as we can.
And we read it before, and it's not...
Yeah, you can always go back or pause the video and read.
It's interesting, but it's not stupid.
So, I mean, that's... if you're looking for that adventure thing and you're like, oh my god, what are these RPG Maker games? Check out All the Bad Parts. That's this week. That is not an adventure game. The next one I watched you play, and then I did not play. Zombie Racers.
This was a pile of shit. You see little zombies that are little ants on the screens. You're in what looked to me either a yellow taxi from New York or a little yellow bug, and you go around and squash them. And in a time limit, you need to squash 100 to beat the level. And it's got relative controls, not absolute.
Yes, so once you get your car spun around, you can't quite figure out how to steer. Our next game up, since I'm spending more time on that one, is Speedrunner HD. So we did do video on this one. This one... So here's the thing. I'm just going to come out and say that. This is something I hate saying, but it's honestly the way I feel. This one feels like a game that should be $1 on the service, and is $3. The levels go by very fast, and it says at the end there are like 18 levels total.
18 levels, and you need to buy them to get them past level 4.
Yeah, and you can get to level 4 pretty quick. In fact, the only thing that slows you down from getting to level 4 in 2 minutes is all the loading screens on this. This thing has crazy, crazy long loading screens for very, very short levels. I don't know what it's doing back there. It might be doing my taxes. It might be doing some insider trading or something, but it's definitely not just reading stuff from discs, because that should not take that long. Or maybe it's a case of they don't have their assets packed in a streamlined format, and they are suffering garbage collection on the Xbox. For every time you load 2 megs, you're going to get a garbage collection. So if you're loading all these sprites individually, that's going to hit a lot of problems, in which case you need to use some sprite sheets there. But it's great art style, and it looks pretty good. I hate myself for saying, like, I feel like this game should be $1, because, $3, like, what the hell? When did that become...
Most of the visual...
I can't even get a Big Mac for that. A Big Mac meal is like $6 now.
You can get I think you can get a double cheeseburger, but that's about it.
But that's a sad, sad double cheeseburger.
Yes,
that's like 2 slices of meat that don't add up to a quarter pound, a pickle that you gotta play Where's Waldo with the pickle. Which also sounds like something that would get banned off Xbox Live Indie Games. Where's Waldo's pickle? That's game idea of the week, guys. Somebody get on that. Where's Waldo Pickle edition? Yeah, I shouldn't say like for $3, but giving what's on the service, and giving that it's just like
I think the only reason why it's $3 is because in the backgrounds to all the menus, it looks fantastic. It looks like somebody from DC Comics decided they were going to make a video game.
Well, it reminds me of Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Is the art style that it has.
It's the same art style,
the
but
guy
it looks
of Samurai
like
Jack,
an actual
and
comic artist.
he did Powerpuff Girls as well. So it has those art style. It's worth a look. Don't just rate it on the money like I did. Next one up is Rumble Voice, and you can change your voice on the Xbox 360. So the next one up is Professional Stealer with a little $sign for the S, and all my rants about infinite runners apply here.
And I did make the comment, like, I knew it was an infinite runner, and I played it, and then I was like, Silver Dollar Games has done a better version of this.
Yes, the
several
Jump Hero,
times over.
when we compare your game poorly to the Silver Dollar Games version, when we say, you know what, I'd rather play the Silver Dollar Games, you need to put in some more effort. Let's see. Kobold's Quest. We did video on this one.
And you'll start out the game and you'll hear the songs that you're familiar with, but keep playing.
Yeah, you're gonna hear the Intense Tech or Incomp Tech or what it is. You're gonna hear the Kevin stuff. Just you click past that and it'll be okay.
Kevin MacLeod.
Kevin MacLeod, yes, that's it. You're gonna hear the Kevin MacLeod soundtrack. Click past it, start playing the game. It's actually kind of cool single player. It's even more fun multiplayer. But this is kind of funny. This is one of the great ironies of where we are at in the U.S. as far as like what's accepted and what's not. Boobs, hell no. Like, why are your boobs there? Have you justified those boobs? Are those boobs to look at? Then by God, those boobs better not be on there. If your boobs in Xbox Live Indie Games are just there to look at, then we have a problem. A game in which the job is to snatch babies to be eaten by the King Kobold.
So that he does not eat his own children.
So he does not eat his own kobold babies. That's fine. No issues there. And that's exactly what you do. So you play the little kobold babies, you run into the little town, and
Try not to get
steal the
chopped up.
human. Try to avoid the humans trying to kill you. Steal the human baby and take the human baby back to the lair and give it back to Daddy so Daddy can eat the human baby. Now, you don't actually see Daddy eat the human baby, but if you fail, you will see Daddy put
on the
you
dinner
on the table. Yes, you will get to see yourself on...
the multiplayer portion comes in where only one of you gets to be the favorite child. Because only one person actually completely brought the child to you. You slow down when you're the one with the flag, of course, but you can steal the baby and become the favorite child. Yay!
Oh, look, Mad Ninja's got a chip on his shoulder about Kevin MacLeod music. Like, he should put up a site and start giving away music, and then we can all complain about Mad Ninja's music in all the games. Next one we have up is Avatar Running, and you couldn't figure out how to run in this game.
This is a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned, and fuck it.
It's not an infinite runner. It's a...
Can you run?
It's an Avatar version of Insane Bash,
yes.
And Mad did a better Insane Bash. Daddy's Busted Condom for the lead. That was still better than that. Go check out. We didn't do video on this, but we did video on Insane Bash. So go check out the video on Insane Bash, and figure out what Daddy's Busted Condom takes the lead is all about. Our next one up is Train Frontier Express, and this is a model train simulator. So, like, you know, you go out and you buy the model train pieces and you build that up and you get to run your trains. This isn't something that would appeal to me. All right, so this is not a game that I would seek out to play. It's just not something I'm interested in. But playing it, had some fun with it, and I also felt like if you are into that kind of sim train, you want to play that. This is worth checking out. Also, a lot of fun to not have tracks and watch your train just go off the rail and burst into flame. I wish there were little people who were on fire that would jump out and run around. No, Stegs, the show must go on. You just ignore the drunks, you don't encourage the drunks. Yeah, that's not going to play on the podcast, but everybody else knows what I meant. Our next one up is Chain Crusher, and we did video on this one. Admittedly, not a tight gameplay, not a great graphic game or all of that, but this is one of those. This is one of those good game ideas that I hadn't seen something like this before. It may exist, or maybe some 1973 arcade edition.
I think we've played something like it, but I don't remember what, and they didn't do it as well as this.
I don't think I remember anything with the mechanic that this had. So essentially, when you shoot, it does kick you back. There's a recoil off of it's a side-scrolling shooter, and there's a recoil, and if you, unfortunately, the barrier's outside the title safe, so you won't see it in the video. But if you crash into the barrier, you lose. So if you get shot too far back, you lose. So you can't rapidly shoot. And what you're trying to do is when you explode, you hit an enemy ship, they explode.
And the explosion stays for a while.
The explosion will explode the other ships if they run into it while it is still on the screen and cause a chain reaction, essentially. And that's what you're trying to set up. You're trying to set up these awesome chain reactions, and you get a lot of score from that. The demo is pretty limited, so we couldn't see if we're going to get into boss fights or
it looked
anything
like
that.
There was a boss fight, but as you get into that boss fight, they're like, pay us money!
Yeah, the buy now pops up. We had a couple complaints this week, too. Developers don't pop up a buy screen without the user requesting it. Don't just pop up a buy screen in the middle of like, hey, you're at this level, here's the buy screen. Like, put in upsell bear, for example.
Yeah,
let me know.
I don't want to cross an invisible line with a button that I have had to use repeatedly, and suddenly I'm trying to buy the game.
Yes, and this is why you don't want it, because we're mashing buttons to play the game. You pop up that screen, and if we mash at the wrong instance, it goes right through. Like, there's no, like, double checking or anything, and we get quite pissed. Our next one up is Chester. This is a little novel platformer where you'll get to play a bunch of different creatures as you unlock them, as you kind of level up with points. We did video of this so you can kind of check it out, because the main complaint is it's just way too busy. The less is more was not applied here.
More is more.
Yeah, and it was distracting because it was really kind of hard to tell sometimes what was background and what was not, what was a pit and what was a ledge.
I'm a big endorser of the lessons that you have to learn for the game. Being a button I press to interact with it. I don't want the sign flitting over my screen every time I go close to the sign. Like he's some guy that is drunkenly attracted to that screen and going 5 inches away or less to it.
Our next game up is the Avatar Connection. And you're not going to play this. But, so this is trying to be like a little love connection thing. It asks some questions, and if the avatar and you have the same answers, or they like your answers, then you get to go on a date. But it really just seems to be random.
It seems very, very random.
So there doesn't seem to be like any game you could do.
There's no real point to it.
It wants you to buy it so that you can do this with other people. But since there's no chance of real boobies being exchanged, I kind of don't have any reason I want to play that, you know? Avatar Love Connection, not interested. Not interested. Jetstar Universe. What was this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I have to look at this one. This was the bad side-scrolling game of the week. But it had one interesting idea in that you select the power-up that you want to collect for. So then as you collect the little splotches on the screen, it's kind of what they look like. They look like little splotches. They add toward the ones, if you want to work on speed or power or an invincibility power up, then you could set it to that and collect for that, and then use it. But in all other instances, it wasn't that great. Our next one up is Air Combat Desert Aces. And this is trying to be, or at least it presents itself as trying to be one of the air combat sim games of old, which I kind of dug. The issue is that it has horrible, horrible arcade-style controls. Like, you can take your little P-51, P-47, or whatever.
And fly it like a jet plane.
And, well, you can fly it straight up. It will never stall. I play half the GameMarx video with the gear down because it doesn't really punish you for the gear down before I remembered to put them up. But this developer, I think I kind of, when I looked at the developer.
He also does a lot of Avatar stuff.
Yeah, well, he did an Avatar flight game. Let me pull it up here. It's not LinkedIn, I guess. It's a different developer. It was a different developer account, so it's not linked into the database here.
But he has we've always also made stuff.
Yeah, we've also made stuff in the game, and it was this Avatar flight game that I remember playing that also was these really awkward flight controls. So it's a shame because I could really go for an old school throwback combat sim. I was a Chuck Yeager's Air Combat fan. That was kind of my favorite one. And, this had the graphics. It's got the 3D up and going. It's working good enough for me on the graphic level. But it just needs to integrate a physics engine.
I'd like some better visual clues, like maybe the other planes are a different color or something. Maybe they flash for a second and you have to be alert for your eagle vision, or I don't know, something. I needed something.
I've started the EP throw out the oldest flight simulator, how awesome you are conversations now. Now, if somebody goes back and they play the actual Microsoft Flight Simulator World War II mode, that's hardcore, because that thing was awful. Our last game up this week is Jellyfish MD, and this is another match 3. It starts out. It actually could be again. It's a match 3 puzzle game on the Xbox console. Nobody wants to play that. They want to play match 3s on their mobile devices. So it's a puzzle game on the Xbox. That's not a good fit. But getting in there and playing, it kind of plays your match 3 on a Rubik's Cube type plane, which I was slightly into. So they take it and you can rotate the cube around in all 3 dimensions. Where they went too far with it is then you can also raise and lower the cube, and at that point it becomes really kind of a pain to see like where everything's at, what level it's at, what the 3D position of everything is at, and it kind of lost me. If they would have stopped from adding that last 3D level, I would be more interested in this as a match. Well, actually, it's match 2. It's just match. At some points, you do have to match 3. It's really like clear the level.
If you want to win, you need to match 3 or more. But if you just want to keep going along until a certain point where it forces you to match 3, then
I wonder how much of Drunk Cicely is going to come out on the podcast, and she doesn't even remember to get near the mic.
I hate you.
Well, they don't know that because you're not near the mic. That wraps up our new releases for the week. The drunk one and I have to decide on a game of the week. Through the haze, does anything come to mind?
Okay, so what are my 5 choices again? Kobold,
What do we do video of?
yes.
Alright, so running back down the list, we did video of, let's see, the first one was Ninja Sneaking, All the Bad Parts, Speedrunner, Kobold's Quest, Train Frontier Express, Chain Crusher, Chester, and Air Combat.
Kobold and Ninja.
Between Kobold and Ninja? I like the multiplayer of Kobold's Quest. Ninja had the thing where you die once, you reset the entire game.
It was frustrating a little bit, but
I'm just not going to want to play it that much. I'm just not going to... I'm going to get far and I'm going to die, and then I'm not going to want to start the game again.
Yeah,
like it's a game I can't play more than 7 minutes of.
When I died at a far point, I probably would put it down for like a day or 2 and then come back and see if I want to play it again.
But Kobold's Quest seems like it could be really fun, especially with 4 players.
Castle Crashers, only with kobolds.
Yeah, it's got that kind of... Well, it's not co-op. You're actually playing against each other, fighting over who gets to take the baby back for Daddy to eat.
It's co-op until you get to the baby.
Yeah. I don't know. You can knock each other's lives out, so there's a lot of tactics you could use on that.
True.
I think we're agreeing that Kobold's Quest is Game of the Week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ignore the music. Play the game.
Ignore the music. A little Kevin MacLeod didn't kill anyone. And check out Kobold's Quest. That is our Game of the Week. All right. News of the week. There wasn't much news of the week. That's what happened to the news of the week section there, answering the chat question. I think the biggest thing I had queued up.
Oh, are we still in that summer stuff?
Yeah, I didn't know which ones. I didn't go with the Indie Uprising.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know which one of these were Uprising games and which ones weren't.
As far as I'm concerned, it's all Summer of Arcade.
The Indie Uprising, let's see, what did we play this week that was Indie Uprising? Take Arms didn't get released, I think. I think that's what happened to that. Speedrunner, Train Fortress, Chester, and Red the Lost Temple is today. So it's Friday the 2nd, so that wouldn't have been...
didn't fit in our week.
Yeah, that wouldn't have fit in our week this week, if it made it out. I think Take Arms went up and was pulled back down. Anybody in chat confirm that? I thought I read that, but...
I didn't see it. I still didn't see it on any of the websites that track it, just because it probably had a bug or something.
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe it didn't make its release. Or I remember seeing that somewhere where, yes, multiplayer bug. So MacX Games, Jim Perry, that Jim Perry, he's in the chat. That's who MacX Games is. You didn't realize that, did you? No, you didn't realize that. Jim, we'll have to get you on the show. We do need to get you on the show at some point. We've had George, and we've had Coolness, Chad Carter. We've had Chris. What's Chris's? Gardner, Chris Gardner, Chris Williams, and Andy. So yes, that is what we do. We rant, and more the better. So we'll work that out. I have my people. Get in touch with your people. I have people.
He has a person.
I have a person. But we have somebody, and we'll set that up. Yeah, I didn't have any news this week. There wasn't anything.
Nothing happened.
Great going on that I saw that wasn't just some drama that I was like that wasn't drama worthy of covering. It didn't blow up to anything major. I think this week. I think that's it. I think that wraps up the show.
Probably.
Hey Scott, you still there?
I am.
Oh man, awesome. Hey, I appreciate it. What is it over there? Like 4 a.m. now for you?
Yeah, 4:20.
Yeah, go to
4:20,
sleep.
dude. That you know what that means?
Go to sleep.
Yeah, bedside. No more coffee.
Oh, does 4:20 mean anything in the UK?
Yeah, nothing I could admit to on in public.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure. That's exactly what it means over here. Well, do you know the theory behind it? Like why 4:20 is the time?
No.
That is the average time it takes the high schooler to get out of school, get home, get to his room, and get his stash.
That's pretty bloody quick. That's
Now,
impressive skills.
I think that's like a crock of shit, because I don't think you can actually measure that statistic.
Maybe in New York, but that's
Yeah.
about it.
I don't know. But that's what I've heard. That's where the origin of 420 comes from.
Whatever.
But then again, the people that made that up, I don't know that you can trust them to be wholly factually accurate.
It's only been 4 minutes, man.
Yeah.
They're worse than drunks. I can at least remember.
Hey, you know
things.
what? We have to love those people because they buy probably a lot of the indie games.
Indeed.
Yes. The drunks and the stoners are probably the ones screwing around on the Xbox that stumble in there and accidentally buy Beach Bubbles 2. Because that's the only way it's funny to you in that moment is that you're high. Hey, thank you everyone for tuning into the show. Thank you for Scott for coming on. Check out IndieCity.com. If you're a developer, you've got a done game that you think you can either, if you're an Xbox developer, you can get that to the PC. You may need to clean up the interface or, just say like, hey, I'm going to require a controller for it. I think that's okay these days, isn't it? Is it okay to say on a PC game that we require a game controller?
You have to, maybe a gamepad controller.
Yeah, Windows
Yeah,
game.
you're pretty get some flack from the PC community from that, but there's ways around it. They can map keys and stuff.
Okay.
Like I said, there's an open source project on IndieCity, that will pretty much get around all this for you. I think Jim Perry's actually helping us out with that, or has offered his services.
So a lot of them do want the WASD and mouse controls, but
I didn't know if that was still a thing. I didn't know if that was still a hang-up of like, oh dear God, you use the arrow keys? I can't use WSAD? Oh, this game is awful, I didn't know if PC gamers were still that way, because it's been so long since I've been them. I temporarily came back and was a PC gamer for StarCraft, and Steam is slowly bringing me back. Something like IndieCity launching, I could see myself checking that out more. As I get older, like I'm totally down for like $5. Give me an awesome experience for a few hours. And my AAA titles are few and far between, because so many of them are really shit, and it's $60 of shit, and I'll much rather pay $5 and check some stuff out. It was like the Penny Arcade. Did you see the Penny Arcade where they were having the argument of like most of these indie games are shit that you're paying $1 on, and I have my awesome $40 game. And then, like, Tycho's response, or Gabe's response, I think it was Tycho's response to him, was like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll go buy 40 games for $1, and you buy one $40 game, and let's see who ends up having the most fun at the end.
Yeah. I mean, all the last age of games on the PC I've played have pretty much been indie games. That Project Zomboid that's out on PC, but it's out in alpha at the moment, I've been playing that to death, and that's like quite a... just an alpha version where you can run around the town, but it's so much fun.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in the live show. Thank you for joining in chat, and thank you for listening to this podcast. We will do this again in a week.
Bye-bye.